Welcome to This Explainer. Today, I'm putting on my growth consultant hat to guide you through a really critical strategic audit. We're going to dive into the data on exactly how to fill your sales pipeline without, completely burning through your limited startup capital. Look, if you're a founder or leading a growth team, you already know that generating predictable revenue is basically your lifeblood. But man, the path to get there, it is absolutely filled with expensive landmines.
Okay, so here's our game plan for the audit. We'll be looking at 5 areas: the startup lead dilemma, the cheap freelance trap, renting audiences, owning your machine, and finally, the final cost breakdown. Let's jump right into section 1, the startup lead dilemma. It's that overwhelming pressure every low-capital startup faces to generate leads without going totally bankrupt. Now, this right here is the ultimate gamble. You've got a finite amount of cash sitting in the bank, right? And you have to choose, do I build an in-house team? Do I pour money into paid ads? Or do I just buy leads from gig platforms? Make the wrong choice here, and you don't just lose some money, you literally lose months of your runway. As much as we all want a magical, zero-cost growth hack, our source data reveals a pretty harsh truth. There is no single cheapest and most effective silver bullet. It just doesn't exist. The absolute cheapest options will completely waste your most precious resource, which is your time. While the most effective options, well, they're going to require a calculated upfront investment. Moving right along to section 2, the cheap freelance trap. We really need to talk about the alluring but highly dangerous world of gig marketplaces. $3 to $5 an hour. I mean, that's an incredibly cheap hourly rate for a data scraper on a platform like Upwork. And when you're a cash-strapped startup, seeing a number like that makes freelance platforms feel like the ultimate shortcut. You're probably thinking, why on earth would I build a whole team when I can just outsource this for the price of my morning coffee? But we need to contrast that shiny upfront promise with the brutal reality. On sites like Fiverr, you'll see these crazy promises, like 1,000 B2B leads for $50. The reality, though, you get exactly what you pay for. These lists are almost always scraped from heavily outdated databases. So what happens? You email them, and you get massive bounce rates. And here's why that is a huge problem. High bounce rates will completely ruin your email domain reputation. Sure, you saved $40 today, but you just destroyed your ability to actually land in any real prospect's inbox tomorrow. Oh, and then you have lead broker platforms like Bark. You might pay, say, $10 to $50 just to reveal a prospect's contact info. But here's the dirty little secret. They literally sell that exact same lead to 4 or 5 of your direct competitors at the exact same time. So you are instantly thrown into this incredibly stressful race to the bottom, frantically dialing prospects who are really just shopping around for the absolute cheapest price. It's exhausting, honestly. And unless you enjoy getting hung up on all day, it rarely builds sustainable growth. Okay, on to section 3, renting audiences with ads. Because if cheap freelancers aren't the answer, you might be wondering, what about just buying your way to the top with PPC or Meta? Let's break down the data comparing these channels. With PPC, Google Ads, you're capturing very high intent. These are people actively typing in a search to buy your specific solution. But wow, the costs are staggering. Meta ads on Facebook or Instagram, they're definitely cheaper, but they rely on interruption marketing. Think about it. You are distracting someone who's just scrolling through photos of dogs. The intent there is moderate at best. And that means your highly paid sales team has to burn valuable hours sifting through a mountain of unresponsive junk leads just to find one single buyer. And this chart shows exactly how fast your startup's budget gets eaten alive just for the privilege of jumping the line on Google. You aren't just paying $5 to $50 per click, no. You're also paying a massive monthly retainer, very often over $1,000, just for an agency or media buyer to manage all that fierce competition. And the worst part, the exact second you run out of cash and turn off that ad spend, your lead flow drops to 0, instantly. Which brings us to section 4, owning your lead machine. Let's explore what the data actually shows is the most sustainable, long-term play for your startup. This lays out how you can build a highly predictable, high-performing lead generation machine by leveraging global talent hubs. The winning setup here is a dedicated offshore in-house squad. You start by hiring one senior strategist. They own the overarching strategy, write the outreach sequences, and manage the data. Then they're supported by 2 or 3 junior specialists who handle the actual daily grind, like list scraping and the initial outreach. By hiring from incredibly talented global hubs like the Philippines or Pakistan and setting them up with the right software like Apollo, Instantly, or Sales Navigator, you are building an engine that works entirely for you. And here is the magic number. $2,700 to $4,400. That is the estimated total monthly cost for that entire dedicated 4-person squad working full-time just for your brand. That covers a competitive salary for your senior leader to actually own the process, plus your entire execution team. Now, there is a trade-off, and that's time. Building an in-house team usually takes about 30 to 60 days to really ramp up and start producing. But look at this comparison. When you rent audiences with ads, you are completely beholden to Mark Zuckerberg and Google's pricing algorithms. When you own the machine, you're building a permanent, long-term asset, you get total brand control, and you're building a proprietary prospect database that no one can ever take away from you. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the final cost breakdown, renting versus owning. Let's bring all this data together and see what these numbers actually mean for your monthly budget. Okay, this is the real light bulb moment right here. If you're running PPC ads, just 100 clicks at $30 a click costs you $3,000. Plus, remember that $1,000 media buyer fee we talked about? That is $4,000 just for a rented pipeline. Now, that exact same $4,000 could entirely fund a full-time, 4-person offshore team for the entire month. You pay absolutely $0 per click, and you end up with a wholly owned proprietary database. When you look at it like that, the long-term ROI really isn't even close. So based on our audit of the source material today, this team structure is hands down the definitive winner. Look, if you want the absolute cheapest upfront option, sure, go use Fiverr, but you are going to pay for it in wasted time and damaged reputation. If you need buyers literally today and have endless VC cash to burn, go ahead and run Google Ads. But for a startup that actually needs predictable B2B pipeline growth without setting fire to its capital, a senior strategist directing junior executors offers the ultimate balance of cost efficiency and long-term effectiveness. I'll leave you with this one question to chew on as you get back into your business today. Take a really hard look at your budget and ask yourself, are you renting your pipeline or are you owning it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep building, keep optimizing, and I'll catch you next time as we dive into more strategies to accelerate your growth.